Hello, St. Joan of Arc families, and welcome. As you know from last week's video, or from coming to Family Mass, we frame our weekly homilies around a question designed to invite us to think about the gospel message. And so let's learn this week's question. Let's all read it together.
How can we live by God's wisdom?
In our first reading, James talks about people living by God's wisdom. He says that people who live by God's wisdom are honest and kind, gentle and forgiving, and they try to make peace with everyone. In the Gospel, Jesus tells us that to live by God's wisdom is to accept and serve others, especially those the world might call unimportant. Today we have a story for you called Zen Ties by John Muth, in which a group of kids learn a lot about living by God's wisdom. As you listen to the story, see if you can spot acts of generosity, forgiveness, service, patience, kindness, and making peace. Our reader is Richard Dodson.
Mom, there's a bear over there, said the little girl. A what? Asked her mother. A big panda bear, said the girl. What's he doing? Asked the little girl's mother. He's sitting. Maybe he's waiting for someone, said her mother. Stillwater was waiting for someone. He was waiting for the arrival of his nephew, Coo. Uncle Stillwater, Summer, I have arrived. Seeing you brings smiles. Hi, Coo, said Stillwater. I brought you some welcome balloons. Coo took the balloons and bowed. An uplifting gift. Could you carry my case, generous uncle? Asked Coo. It is a short walk to the house, but there is a nice park on the way. Let's stop there and have some tea, said Stillwater. Stillwater, Coo, and the balloons all sat quietly in the park. Tea was very good. My cup holds emptiness now. Where shall I put it? Asked Coo. Stillwater did not like to waste. We will use these cups every day while you are here, so we should save them. Suddenly, Stillwater burst out laughing. That tickles, he said. Hi, Stillwater, said his friends Addie, Michael, and Carl. We were just coming to see you. Hello, said Stillwater. I would like you to meet my nephew, Coo. The children introduced themselves, and everyone ran off to play. Addie invented a game called Jump on Stillwater. It was fun. Michael wanted to ask Stillwater a question. I'm going to be in a spelling bee, Michael said. What would you do if you were in a spelling bee? I would spell words, said Stillwater. Michael looked at his shoes. What if you weren't sure how good you were? I feel like I'm going to mess up. Do your best. That is what you are supposed to do, said Stillwater. But it's hard to do my best when I'm nervous, said Michael. Stillwater nodded. Then he smiled. Coo and I have to visit Miss Whittaker this afternoon. I would like you and Carl and Addie to come along." "The Miss Whittaker who lives on our street?" asked Addie. "That Miss Whittaker?" asked Carl. "She hates us. She's really old and she spits when she talks. Every time we walk past her house, she shouts at us. She scares me." "She's your friend?" Michael asked. Stillwater looked at them. "Yes," he said. "She isn't feeling well, and we must bring her something to eat." The children helped Stillwater prepare some soup. It smelled very good. Then they put it on a tray with some soft bread. As they walked quickly down the street, Stillwater said, "Miss Whittaker is a good friend. You will see." "Why on earth did you bring these children here?" shouted Miss Whittaker. The children backed away. "Hello, Miss Whittaker," said Stillwater. "You look well today. We've brought you some nice soup." Carl looked at Miss Whittaker. She did not look well at all. She looked thin and she looked small, much smaller than she did when she stood on the porch yelling at them for throwing a ball in her yard. Stillwater helped Miss Whittaker up to bed, and he offered her the soup. Then he asked Addie and Carl to sweep the floors, and he asked Michael to open the curtains and the blinds. "Carl, hold the dustpan still," said Addie. "Carl and Coo are very good at drawing pictures," said Stillwater. "I can't see pictures anymore," said Miss Whittaker crossly. Carl and Coo drew several pictures together. When it was time to leave, Stillwater put them up around Miss Whittaker's bed. He told her they would come back tomorrow. Outside, the children said goodbye. "See you tomorrow," said Stillwater. "I don't know," said Michael. "I should study for my spelling bee." "You should come," said Stillwater. "You should come early." The next morning, Stillwater told Michael, "Miss Whittaker used to teach English." "She did?" asked Michael. Then Stillwater said, "Miss Whittaker, did you know that Michael is going to be in a spelling bee?" "Well," said Miss Whittaker, "I know something about that." "Now listen, just like plants, words have roots," Miss Whittaker said. "A plant grows from its roots, and so do words. Roots of words can teach you to spell." And with that, Michael spent the morning with Miss Whittaker, studying for his spelling bee. The next day, Stillwater found Coo looking up at the apple tree in Miss Whittaker's front yard. "Oh, hello, Stillwater," said a voice from up in the tree. "Can you catch me?" "I was getting some apples for Miss Whittaker," said Carl. "This morning's sunlight, gathering apples, and a boy," said Coo. After the spelling bee, Michael raced to Miss Whittaker's. "I did it," said Michael. "I made it all the way through to the end." "Good," said Stillwater. "So you were not too nervous?" "The judges were nothing compared to Miss Whittaker," said Michael. "Yeah," said Carl. "Just this morning she was shouting at us again." "Then why are you smiling?" asked Stillwater. "She was telling us to get out of the street and play in her yard." On the last day of Coo's visit, Michael presented Miss Whittaker with the ribbon he got at the spelling bee. Carl gave her the apples he had gathered. "My mother taught me to make apple tea," said Miss Whittaker. "I haven't made it for years. Now Addie and I have made some for you." When it was time to say goodbye, Addie, Michael, and Carl gave Coo a big hug. "Summer fading, new friends' faces lighten the way home," said Coo. At the train station, Stillwater looked over at Coo. "You may throw away your cup now," said Stillwater. Coo shook his head. "Nearing my visit's end, summer now tastes of apple tea. I will keep my cup," said Coo.
In our story, when the giant panda Stillwater convinces the children to help a grouchy neighbor in need, they learn that helping others can be a gift for everyone. Zen Ties shows us that we live by God's wisdom when we are patient and kind, as Stillwater is with the children and with Miss Whittaker. We live by God's wisdom when we are gentle and forgiving, as the children are with their crabby neighbor. We live by God's wisdom when we accept and serve others and make peace, as the characters learn. In Japanese, Zen Tai means all of us together. When they act with open hearts, the children and their elderly neighbor find they are tied to each other not just by red ribbons, but by compassion and friendship, living in the light of God's wisdom together.